This is Chapter 18, Functional Groups of Biological Molecules, Introductory Chemistry at Mineral Area College. So over on the left, I just have two examples, so then we can identify the biological macromolecules. And on the right, I just have a chart of sort of like the different criteria for, to consider the example as a protein or a carbohydrate or a lipid or a nucleic acid. And so the first example, it tells us that it's a polypeptide. And so if you look over on the chart on the right side, polypeptides fall under the category of proteins. And so we're going to say that the biological macromolecule of the first example is going to be a protein. And in the category of proteins, it tells us that the functional groups are going to be consist of an amine, carboxylic acid, or an amide. And the amide is going to be our linkage. And so over here, our first example tells us that there are 4 functional groups and 2 of them are linkages, and so 2 of them are also going to be functional groups as well. And so the linkages tells us, from the chart, tells us that it's going to be an amide, and we know that the NH and the O and the NH and the O over here, each of them is an amide functional group, and so the first one is going to be an amide, and the second one is going to be an amide as well. And then the chart also tells us that it's going to have an amine and a carboxylic acid, and so luckily the NH2 is going to be our amine, and then the O with the OH is going to be our carboxylic acid. So onto our second example, it tells us that it is a monosaccharide. And in the chart over here, it explicitly tells us that a monosaccharide falls under the category of a carbohydrate. And so we're going to label the biological macromolecule as a carbohydrate. And so next, we're just going to label all of the 6 functional groups in here. It tells us there are no linkages, and so we don't really have to worry about that. So it tells us that it's going to either have aldehydes and alcohols or ketones and alcohols. And so we're going to assume that it's going to be a ketose sugar just because there's only ketones and alcohols in here. And so you'll see in a second that the easiest one to label is probably going to be alcohol, just because in the word alcohol, remember to identify that functional group. It's just the O and the H in the word alcohol. And so we have a whole bunch of OHs in this image. And so we have our first OH over here, our second over here, our third over here, our fourth over here, and our 5th one over here. So there are 5 alcohols total. And then our last one must be a ketone, just because we know that a ketone is going to sort of look like a key, right? And so it's going to be a ketone. And also we can conclude that there is not going to be any aldehydes, just because aldehydes, there must be an H near the double bonded O, because an aldehyde usually looks like this. Right, but since an aldehyde usually looks like that, but since there's not an H right here or right here really, since there's a carbon, and carbon, and the O in the middle, we can assume that it's just going to be a ketone. Thank you for watching.